Welcome to the Innovator Showcase. If you missed our session yesterday, here is a quick recap of how things roll. The event format is simple. We will showcase one new innovator daily who pitches for 10 minutes. The innovator is then grilled about their business plan and the pitch in an intense Q&A session with our panel of seasoned investors. These panelists have been tracking the smart protein ecosystem in India with assistance from GFI India for the past year and a half. To add to the excitement, we'll also feature one established startup daily from our GFI Ideas India community, and we'll also include some from last year's Innovators Showcase. These startups will present a short update about their journey so far. So thank you once again for joining us in this exciting session to witness the power of innovative smart protein ideas.
Welcome back to the Innovators Showcase at the Smart Protein Summit 2020. For today's showcase, you will hear from Brew51, precision fermentation-based alternative seafood startup. Ravali, the stage is yours.
Hi, I'm Ravali Amba. I'm the founder of Brew51. Isn't it odd that 93% of Americans eat meat, yet 47% of them want slaughterhouses shut? What a paradox, right? My goal is to solve this paradox by replacing animals in our food systems with tasty alternatives made from plants and fermentation. We're doing exactly that at Brew51, and we're starting with fish. Allow me to take you through a few slides to show you what Brew51 is all about. Let me first explain the problems we're trying to solve with our fish alternative. There are two main reasons why we chose to work on this. There is a human health, animal welfare, and sustainability crisis with the ways in which seafood is farmed today. Awareness of these crises among consumers is on the rise as well. They're concerned about the ethical and environmental impact like overfishing, habitat destruction, poor animal welfare practices. And they're equally worried about the impact on their health as a result of mercury, microplastic contamination, and antimicrobial resistance, etc. Consumer demand for fish, on the other hand, continues to rise, and demand is outstripping supply for many widely consumed fish species. There is a wide open market opportunity to fill. To give you an idea of the opportunity that exists, consider that in the US, while alternatives to meat occupy 1% of the market, alternatives to seafood are not even 0.1% of the market. It's a $141 million market that is wide open, and there is clearly a huge opportunity here. Our approach to creating an alternative seafood product is to use a hybrid method that combines plant-based and fermentation-based techniques. The reason we chose to go with this hybrid approach is because plant-based alternatives are economical, fastest to market, and have the least regulatory hurdles to cross when compared to fermentation and cell-based approaches. Fermentation-based approaches allow the creation of animal proteins outside of animals, and therefore, in principle, are capable of mimicking seafood better. Our first product is an alternative to a whole-cut salmon fillet. We are developing a whole-cut salmon fillet in 2 steps. First, we use a plant-based protein substrate along with sensory and nutritional ingredients to create a textured muscle analog using a novel shear cell technology to mimic the flaky feel of fish. You can see the shear cell we have developed on the left of the slide. It comprises an outer heated rotating container and an inner heated fixed container in the center. The substrate to be sheared is placed in the food chamber in between the rotating and fixed containers. Second, post-shearing, we develop a connective tissue analog to replicate the myocepta or the white striations, which are an integral part of a salmon fillet. We then combine the two together to form the final product. The myocepta will initially be developed using plant ingredients alone, and we will follow it up by developing recombinant fish collagen, which would be used to more precisely replicate the myocepta. Here are 2 videos to give you an idea of how the shear cell functions. The first video shows the prototype shear cell in operation. The outer rotating container is kept heated using water heated to 95 degrees Celsius, and the inner fixed container is also kept heated using water heated to 95 degrees Celsius. In between the two containers is the food chamber, which is sealed from above to ensure that moisture and heat do not escape. The heated substrate is sheared for about 20 minutes with the outer container rotating at a speed of 30 RPM as shown. The entire setup was designed and machined during a COVID lockdown period, which made the logistics and execution quite a nightmare. We ran a few experiments with the shear cell by varying the protein mix and water content of the substrate and found that only a narrow range of values for these variables created a fish-like texture. This second video is of the food chamber and was taken after the shearing process was complete. It shows the sheared substrate being cut in two halves. We've had initial success in recreating a whole cut fish with a fish-like texture, but there is still a lot of work to be done for us to perfect this. Seafood is a large market. Salmon is widely consumed around the world and demand is growing in emerging markets. As shown in the figure on top, Indians and Chinese are highly likely to purchase plant-based meat regularly, and in fact, more likely than their American counterparts. So we plan to launch our pilot salmon fillet in India and Asia and expand globally post that. Our product will be positioned as being tastier, healthier, and more sustainable than legacy salmon. Tastier and better smelling because of omission of a few undesired compounds present in legacy salmon. Healthier because there will be no contaminants, microplastics, heavy metals, etc. And of course, more sustainable. The company was founded on World Ocean Day on June 8th. We started working on GFI Smart Protein Challenge in July. We had the first prototype of our shear cell ready by late July. Professor Guhan Jayaraman, HOD of Biotechnology Department at IIT Madras, joined us as the scientific advisor in early August. Brew 51 was one of 5 startups selected for HSR India's very first Humane Entrepreneurship Program cohort. And we have Dr. Sandhya Sriram, CEO of Shiok Meats, mentoring as a part of this program. We are now in the process of finalizing our lab setup at CCAM's well-equipped, resource-rich facility in North Bangalore. We've made a lot of progress with our shear cell and our fish prototypes in the last 3 months. We are aggressively moving forward on technology and product development, as well as marketing and sales. We are hiring and are looking for high-energy food scientists and a passionate biotechnologist to join our team. If any of you out there are interested, please drop me a line at ravali@brew51.com. We are also fundraising and we're looking to raise $200,000 or 1.5 crore rupees. So we would love to hear from investors out there who find us interesting. Plant-based and cellular agriculture-based alternatives are here to stay. They're changing how the planet eats. I'm very excited to be building Brew 51, where I have a chance to make a world that is kinder, healthier, and more sustainable. Finally, I'd like to end the talk by thanking GFI, Varun, Shartul, and Nicole for all the work they've been doing to build such a supportive ecosystem for startups like Brew 51 to flourish. Thank you.
You just heard from Ravali Amba, founder of Brew 51, about her vision to transform the seafood industry. Ravali, thank you for sharing your product and lockdown journey with us. It was great to see your novel shear cell technology in action. And I think I can speak for us all when I say that we cannot wait to try Brew 51's plant-based salmon fillet. Now, please welcome our panel of investors who will be posing some tough questions to Ravali. First, we have Shreyansh Singhal, Investment Associate at Ankur Capital. Next, we have Shruti Srivastava, Principal at Omnivore. Next, we have Jinesh Shah, founder of Y Combinator-backed Milk Guys. And finally, we have Chintan Antani of CII Eco. Welcome all. All of the panelists have been actively working with GFI India and tracking the emerging smart protein sector and startups in the Indian ecosystem for about a year and a half now. They will now have the chance to ask one question each to Ravali. And now I'd like to welcome Ravali on board for the Q&A session.
Hi.
Great. Let's get started. Shreyans, you have the first question.
Thanks a lot, Ravali. My question for you is in terms of the product itself. Salmon is known for having protein content, having the taste and texture as well. So how do you build for that as you're building the product as you go forward? How are you thinking about ensuring that these are in place when you are distributing the product in the market?
Right. Hi, Shreyansh. Thanks. That's a great question. So firstly, I'd like to say that we are a 3-month-old company. And so we have largely worked on texture so far. And we have built a shear cell prototype like I had described in the slides. And we've had some initial success in replicating the texture of a salmon fillet. I think we're about 90% there, and there are a few tweaks we're working on to improve the texture and so on. So the thing with texture is a lot of extruders are available, and extrusion has been extensively used to develop ground and minced meats, but not a whole cut fillet. And that's where our shear cell helps us set ourselves apart. And coming to your question on flavor and nutrition. So firstly, for flavor and aroma, we are trying to work with academic institutions in India and also a few global leaders in flavor and aroma technology to come up with the precise profile of flavor and aroma that a salmon fillet has. And that should help us make sure that we get the salmon experience right. And in terms of the nutrition, there's omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which are considered super healthy for your heart, and consumers largely look to fish for that. And we are looking for microalgae-based producers, and there are a few in India that I've come across through my advisor, scientific advisor at IIT Madras. And we're going to be speaking with them soon to include their omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids into the fish product. And in terms of the distribution, we'll try and aim for a chilled product that's delivered fresh as a raw salmon fillet. But we might also consider a ready-to-eat product depending on what ingredients go into the product and so on.
Thanks, Ravali. For the next question, we have Shruti.
So my question to you is, there would be a few regulatory approvals that you would need for this, right? Have you looked through what kind of regulatory approvals are going to be required?
Yes. Hi, Shruti. So yeah, I have looked at the regulatory environment of different geographical locations, India, US, EU, and some Asian countries as well. And so firstly, there are two parts to the regulatory approvals. One is the basic food safety approval itself. And then there is the recombinant and precision fermentation related approvals. So for example, in India, we would need FSSAI's approvals to launch the basic plant-based product. And for the recombinant included product or the precision fermentation compound included product, we would also have to talk to RCGM, etc. And from my understanding, Asia seems to be more evolved in terms of the recombinant approvals and their acceptance of recombinant products. And also, we know that in US, there have been quite a few GRAS GRAS that have been issued for perfect day, impossible foods, etc.
Got it. And do you have a sense of what kind of approval timelines do these entail?
I think for the FSSAI, about 3 to 4 months, 3 to 5 months or so. And for the recombinant one in India, I'm not very certain. It's a little iffy. I don't think we have evolved that much on that. But in Singapore, maybe a year's time, 6 months to a year's time. And grass might also take quite some time in the US, maybe about a year's time.
Okay.
Thank you, Shruti and Ravali. Next, we'll have Jinesh.
Hey, Ravali. Really cool to learn about your startup and the products you're working on, especially in the seafood space that definitely needs a bunch more innovation. Given the existence of some other players in this market, including Good Catch Foods, New Wave Foods, Kuliana, of course, there is some differentiations you have with the fact that you have a full fillet of salmon. How do you see yourself going to market with geographies, and how will you keep in mind, demographics in those arenas and the price points and such?
Right. Firstly, hi, Jinesh. Thanks for the question. Like you said, Jinesh, there are a lot of players in the market, not too many yet, but Good Catch, Kuliana, etc. Of course, they're around. And the way in which we differentiate ourselves, firstly, is that we have a whole cut, unlike the other competitors. But more importantly, I think the space is so nascent that any competition is welcome, and it is only going to help increase awareness of the area itself. But coming to the product differentiation question, I mentioned that we are doing a whole cut and we are differentiating ourselves using texture. We will also make sure that we are nutritionally and in terms of flavor, we match a salmon fillet as accurately as possible. And secondly, if you look at our long-term strategy, we want to do recombinant compounds, precision fermentation compounds, which will help us get the nutrition right. So some aspects of fish like collagen, etc., are widely coveted by consumers, right? And if you look at South Korea, there's a huge boom in collagen-based drinks. And that is probably something that we might look at as well in the future. And we will also look to differentiate ourselves by appropriate fat encapsulation techniques and making sure omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids are included in the product itself. And we are working on something called a myosepta, which are the white striations that you see in the salmon fillet. That is a combination of connective tissue, collagen, and the fatty acids. So we're going to be building our IP around that. I think that's our main product differentiation and how we'll make a difference to the market. And in terms of our launch strategy, again, 3 months old, so this might evolve quite a bit over the next months and years. But what we are thinking currently is that we'll launch in India with a pilot to get quick feedback from the market and understand how we would have to iterate on our processes and what we would have to change in the product in terms of taste, texture, nutrition, and other aspects. But our next steps would be to try and reach Asia and eventually grow globally as well.
Thank you, Ravali.
Thanks for that, Jinesh and Ravali. And next we have Chintan.
So hi. So two parts question. So I wanted to understand what are the limitations that perhaps a sharing technique would have when you scale it from your current, say, lab prototype towards an MVP. And my second question was from where and how do you procure the collagen as of now currently?
Yeah. Hi, Chintan. So your answer to the first question is that extrusion is a very well-established technology, and there are a lot of contract manufacturers available for it. I see challenges in setting up a manufacturing facility for the shear cell. And the second challenge would be at the moment, the way the prototype is structured, it's a batch process. So you will have to remove the output and add new ingredients and so on. So it's not really a continuous process. So that's another challenge that I see probably coming up. And your second question on collagen, we are not procuring collagen at the moment because it's a purely animal source at the moment, and we are not looking to add any animal compounds into our product. So we are going to be using some other forms of connective tissue technology development, like, for example, maybe Zeon fibers, etc., which have been typically used in scaffolding for cell-based meats. And we might consider something like that to replicate the feel of collagen. And once we have the recombinant collagen ready, we will replace the Zeon fibers with the collagen.
Thank you, Ravali. That was a wonderful pitch and a great Q&A session. Thank you, panelists. Brew 51 is looking to hire. So if anyone in the audience is interested in joining Ravali on her journey through plant-based seafood, please get in touch with her directly. Now you will hear from Simarjeet Singh, co-founder of Mr. Veg, a startup working to produce delicious plant-based alternatives to meat, for our second startup update.
You can't even imagine it's plant-based and it's meat. Let me enjoy now. Thank you.
My name is Simarjeet Singh and I am the co-founder and CEO of Mr. Veg. I can't forget the day, that is 12 November 2019, second day of Future of Protein Summit. I attended the whole day's session and met the GFI India team for the very first time. The day was like blessing for us as we started the startup in 2018 and doing everything completely by our own. Now the GFI India Varun, Shardul, Siddharth and the entire team is there to support us, and I'm always thankful to them. In December 2019, we met GFI India team at their Mumbai office, showed them the product. Their valuable suggestion and feedback helped us a lot for improvement of the product. In January, we participated in 2 festivals in Mumbai and got amazing response. In the February, got invitation from GFI India team for the participation of the summit held at Niftam University, Sonipat. And there also we get an amazing response. And now in the March, luckily we got selected in the ProVeg incubator and had unexpected experience working with them over the 3 months. And recently in the last month, we sent them samples and I'm so excited to show all of you their reviews.
Today is the day we cook the Mr. Veg products. Hi Simarjeet, we just finished eating the food. Look at all the empty plates.
Simarjeet.
And slow eaters in the back, but it was super tasty.
Simarjeet, it was very, very tasty.
Super tasty.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sending the samples and look forward to staying in touch. Okay,
Thank you.
All the best. Bye. Thank you.
We have our own production facility here in Faridabad and can create different type of products. At present, we have ready to cook products called as not meat minced, veggie strips, fishless pomfret, fishless salmon, and ready to eat product as well called as meatless curry, Mughlai tikka, lababdar tikka, meatless biryani, meatless rara, and many more. We are already selling our products in B2B and clients making innovative dishes out from them. We are also in communication with some big QSR chains, corporate for some white labeling, collaboration and investments, as we all are in the same boat with the same mission. If any one of you interested in investing in plant-based startup who has ready products in go-to-market, so here's the opportunity. Mr. Veg can be the best option. So we will love to discuss the opportunity in depth. If anyone interested, please do contact us. We have flooded inquiries from around the country and the world. The only thing is to scale up the startup and to fulfill the requirements of the interested customers. And please support us so we can spread this plant-based delicacy around the world and spread happiness. Thank you. We are Mr. Veg.
Thank you for attending today's action-packed showcase. We hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. Make sure to stay tuned for the next round of Innovator Showcase tomorrow.